Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of New Reads. Here's wishing all my viewers a very happy and prosperous New Year 2026. In this episode of New Reads, we are going to delve into a collection of short stories by the noted writer Banu Mushtaq. All of my viewers would know that Banu Mushtaq had won the International Booker Prize in May 2025, along with the translator of the book, whose name is Deepa, Bhashti. So this collection of 12 short stories are from Kannada, and these have been translated into the English language. Viewers would also know that this is the first time ever that an Indian writer has won, an Indian writer from Kannada has won the International Booker Prize. The last time an Indian had won the International Booker Prize was in 2022 when a novel called The Tomb of Sand won the prize, and it is a novel by Gitanjali Shree, and it was translated in English by Daisy Rockwell. So this is the second time that an Indian has won the International Booker Prize. And the difference between the International Booker Prize and the Booker Prize is that the International Booker Prize is for works done in any international language which has been translated into English. Both the author as well as the translator are considered equally for the award. Whereas in a Booker Prize, what happens is it is for work that is done by anyone living in Britain or in Ireland, and these are original works in English. So that's the difference, and we know that so many Indian authors have won the Booker Prize in the past, which includes B.S. Naipaul, Arundhati Roy, Kiran Desai, Salman Rushdie, and Aravind Adiga. So let me come back to this particular book. This is a book which dwells into the everyday simple lives, or rather, I'm not saying simple lives, it could be complex also, the plight of Muslim women in southern India, essentially. Each of these stories are written in very simple language, and as the translator has noted, it has not been very easy for her to translate these into English, because when Banu Mushtaq writes in Kannada, the particular dialect she writes in is also a mix of several different dialects, which includes Urdu, Kannada, etc., etc. And some of the words do not have an equivalent, so she has found it really difficult to make this translation happen. At the same time, these are lives of women or young girls who are married off at an early age, have to bear children, have to look after the family, but they are not educated enough, or they are not allowed to get into a job, so they lead those lives, and at one point sometimes they want to revolt, but essentially the social environment they are in binds them so much that they are unable to do anything. So there is a helplessness also. For instance, there is the story Heart Lamp, which is also the title of this particular book. In that story, she talks about the plight of a woman who is named Mehroon. So Mehroon has been married off at a very young age. She couldn't complete her education, and she's already born 5 children. But she's still young, and she's had enough of her husband, and she comes home to her parents and her brother. But then nobody wants to accept her. Everybody feels that it has to do with something to do with her own issues, her own mistakes, and she's forced to go back to her husband, the abusive husband, whom she wants to run away from. The husband who finds that she is no longer beautiful, she is no longer sexy enough for her to continue as his wife, and he wants to leave her and go after another young woman. So she decides to end her life, and it was only because of the interference of her eldest daughter Salma, who is turned 16, that she is able to come back to her life and to her children. So that is just one example of several other stories that we have in this particular and in this delightful book. So one of the things that the translator herself talks about, Banu Mushtaq's style, is that Banu Mushtaq does not see herself writing about just, the community, that particular community, Muslim community, and that too in southern India. But she wants to take this message across that she is writing about women everywhere, because Banu Mushtaq believes that women face similar problems anywhere in the world. And sometimes it's similar problems, or sometimes it is exact problems, but they continue to be burdened by almost similar issues anywhere in the world. And that is what gives her a belief that, her style, her topics, the topics that she picks up, does resonate with a lot of people in the other parts of the world also. In fact, Deepa Bhashti, who is the translator, in her translator's note, talks about this. She says, "This sisterhood to which those of us who identify as women belong is the cushion I place my translation on. The coping mechanisms we devise, the solutions we find, and the adjustments we make around men, are survival strategies nurtured across generations." And this, she feels, that is a universal aspect, and it can be related to any woman anywhere in any societies. So, as I said, this is a delightful book. This is an easygoing book. Sometimes you'll be startled by the kind of narration, the simplicity of the narration. You may feel that, I'm not getting too much out of it. It doesn't make me feel as if I'm reading something, very intellectually heavy. Of course, the very premise in which the stories are written is not to make one feel intellectually heavy, but it is a portrayal of the simple life. But by portraying those simple aspects, the writer is shedding light on some of the issues that need a lot of attention, issues that need a lot of reforms in society. By the way, Hazan in Karnataka is the place where Banu Mushtaq has lived most of her life. And she has been quite observant even from childhood. When she was married off, and again it was a young age, and she already had a child very soon after her marriage. But she had this urge in her to write. But she did not know what to write about. In fact, she says she was very lucky to have a very progressive husband. Her family also was well-to-do, and it helped. Her husband, of course, took her one day to a very solitary place and gave her a piece of paper and a pen and told her, "Why don't you just write?" But Banu Mushtaq says she could not do anything. She couldn't find any words to write. She did not know what to write about. So it is not something that she could just bring about, because she had never written anything. So she said, I just cried that day. But then that was just the beginning. And later on, she began to write about the things that she saw just around her, and what better raw material she could draw upon than the lives of everyday women and children in her own community. And like many authors of India and internationally, who have made some very great work of art by drawing on the simplest of things that they see around, Banu Mushtaq has endeavored to create a world, which is very, very endearing, which makes us think about the plight of those women. Sometimes it is written in with a touch of humor. Sometimes it is sarcastic. Sometimes it is making fun of the authorities. And Banu Mushtaq herself has said how she has rubbed the wrong side of authorities and the clergy. And in fact, she even went through a phase like around 2 years of depression where she couldn't do anything because she was being sidelined by her own community and the clergy at one point. But it took a very bold and strong effort from her side to come out of those kinds of issues. So we have to read this particular book in that light also. It is not just about some delightful, entertaining stuff that she's writing, but original stories told with the everyday life and blood of people who live in that particular community. Now, let me just read a small portion from the Heart Lamb, just to give an idea of the kind of writing that she has put out here. So this is about Maharoon's husband that she's talking about, how she's got estranged to her husband and she wants to get out of that life, and she wants to run away from the husband, but her social environment does not allow her to do it, and she has to come back to live with him. And then he had insulted the womb that had given him his many children. He had criticized Maharoon for her loose stomach and her sagging breasts that had sated their children's hunger. He made her soul feel naked too. One day he had said, "You are like my mother," and with those words had pushed her alive into hell. In the few months since he had uttered these words, every morsel of food he ate in that house felt like a sin. The feeling of being a stranger in her own house nagged at her, and the fire of insults ground her down. And so she had sought the help of her family. The night was getting darker, and the agitation in Maharoon's heart was hardening. She had never felt this lonely. She had no desires. She sat up on the bed. There was no one to ask after her. There was no one to tease her, hug, kiss her. The person who had done those things belonged to someone else now. There seemed no end to life, and even the loud noise from behind didn't stir her. She knew that a framed photograph had fallen, and the glass had shattered, and the frame had broken into pieces, and the photograph had fallen out. But a kind of anxiety had set up home in her, and she had no desire to sort out the mess. She slowly got out of the bed. She stared at her baby for a long time and then walked out of the room. Her little children were sleeping peacefully. So that goes the story. And this is a good book, and I'm sure you will enjoy every story in this, not only enjoying, but I'm sure each story will leave you with a lot of food for thought. And it can be a good beginning for a year of good reading. Thank you so much for listening. Good day.